Here we are at the core of what was the old course before the 2018 editions, where I talked primarily about achieving your goals through motivation, discipline, and persistence. And that's what we're going to talk about in this section. We're going to talk about building the momentum, directing the momentum, and sustaining the momentum. And then it's all about rinse and repeat, which means go back to the beginning and do it all over again. Because you're going to be doing this the rest of your life. You're going to be trying to achieve your goals until you die. At least that's what I think a life is all about. So there you go. That's what the section's all about. Sorry to go a little morbid on you, but I look forward to leading you through this lecture. And up next is going to be building momentum, the first lecture in the section. I'll see you there. Welcome to my lesson on motivation, or building momentum. In this lecture, we're going to talk about the drive that will help you to accomplish your goals. Let's begin by talking about the engine that makes everything possible. When you're motivated, everything you do seems much easier. It's as if you have a fire in your belly that's burning to succeed. Your enthusiasm and your interest in your tasks makes time fly. You accomplish more while loving what you do. I would imagine that at some time you've felt motivation in the work you're doing, and you've noticed how it improves the entire process. Without motivation, life is a drag, and every job a burden. So we need motivation to get things done. The problem comes when we wait for motivation to arrive. The problem with waiting for motivation to arrive is it never will. Where motivation comes from? Motivation comes from doing things. Unfortunately, it's easier to do things when we're motivated. This is a classic dilemma, or a catch-22. We need to be motivated to do things, but we need to do things to get motivated. So what are we to do to find the motivation we need to succeed? Finding motivation is simple. Do anything, even if it's the wrong thing. Look, it's hard to get a stalled car moving from a dead stop, while it's much easier to keep it moving once it's rolling. So the keys to motivation are: step 1, get yourself moving from a dead stop. Once you're moving, steer yourself. It doesn't matter if you're going the wrong way. It doesn't matter if you're doing the wrong thing. You're doing something. You have the engine running. You have everything engaged. You're making progress. All you need to do is steer, and that's easy. So keep watching this training course, but once it's over, get up and do something. Anything. Now, how to stoke the fires of your motivation. Nothing builds motivation like success. Now, the other thing I want to talk with you about is Swiss cheesing large goals, problems, or tasks. When a goal seems too large to achieve, it's just overwhelming and daunting. Swiss cheese it into tiny, accomplishable steps. Swiss cheese has holes in it, so the idea is to take a big chunk of cheese and keep biting holes out of it until the cheese is gone. Take baby steps, another way to look at it. Make corrections as you proceed. It's much easier to change the direction you're going when you're just taking baby steps and going slow. Then once you figure out where you're going, full bore ahead. Break your single insurmountable goal into thousands of tiny successes. Allow your baby steps to lead to more experience, leaps, and bounds. Now, I want to talk with you about the importance of to-do lists. I pretty much run my life through to-do lists. Keep it simple by maintaining your list on paper or in a simple text file with a text editor. That's what I do. I do everything on the computer, so I have a text file. In fact, I have several with several to-do lists on several projects after several goals I'm trying to work on. Get your tasks out of your mind and onto paper or into a file so that you can use your mind for more productive things rather than ruminating and trying to remember all the things you have to do. Write it down, get it out of your mind, and use your mind for other things. Order your list in dependency order. For instance, if I want to wash the car, well, I better hose it down first, then I'm going to apply the suds, and then I'm going to dry it and rinse it, and then I'm going to dry it. So make your list in the order of dependency of tasks. But within that, order it by priority so you're working on the most important things. Checking things off your list can be extremely rewarding. This is one of the things I love about lists. In fact, sometimes I put ridiculously simple tasks on my to-do list just so I can check them off. Review and update your to-do list routinely so that you make sure where you're going and that you're working on the most important tasks to get you there. Meanwhile, keep your goals in mind. This is so important. And I put this reminder in here, what problem you're trying to solve, so that I could tell you this story. I worked for a long time at Cisco Systems, and it seemed like the longer I worked there, that my job became going into meetings and stating, what problem are you trying to solve? Everybody had lists of tasks and things that we should be trying to do, but nobody could remember what we were trying to accomplish. Don't fall into that mistake. Keep your goals in mind while maintaining your to-do list. Now, I want to talk with you about the secret to blocking distractions. And here it is. Draw the line and defend it. Stephen Covey divided tasks into those that are not very high priority, but are extremely important in your life, and those that are high priority. So you're constantly hit all day long with, I got to do this, I got to do this, I got to do this. And you're never hit with achieving those major goals because those aren't as important, but they really are the most important thing in your life. Your goals are the most important things. That's what you should be working on. So allocate a portion of your life to doing the mundane things, going to work, making dinner, taking care of the kids, whatever it is that constitute those high priority tasks that you have to do on a daily basis. But also dedicate time to your goals, those low priority, high importance tasks in your life. Now I want to talk with you about the empowerment of doing something, anything. Motivation comes from success. If you start doing things and accomplishing them, you will get motivation. Then you can direct that motivation at your goals, even if you're getting the motivation from doing things that have nothing to do with your goals. If you suffer from depression and you're laying in bed, pat yourself on the back if you get out of bed, shower, brush your teeth in the morning. It's a minor accomplishment, but it will build motivation and get you to your goals. And of course, check it off the list. Bang. There we go. I just love that. So if you have something that you're working on and you complete it, check it off your list. You won't believe how good that's going to make you feel. Now, building momentum. As you do things and experience success, you'll begin to build momentum until you become unstoppable. Along the way, things will happen to remind you how vulnerable you are and that you are indeed stoppable. And that's where discipline and persistence come into play to get you through the tough times. And we're about to talk about discipline in the next lesson. Hello, and welcome to my lesson on discipline, or directed momentum. In the previous lesson, we looked into building momentum. Now we're going to look at directing it towards our goals. First, I want to talk with you about the importance of routine. Head down, thoughtless pursuit of progress. You've established your goals and built momentum. Now it's time to put your head down in thoughtless pursuit of progress. Or is it? What about steering? Discipline has to do with periodically checking to make sure you're going in the right direction and also maintaining your momentum. Another word for discipline is management. Yes, it's time to get down to work, but in an orderly fashion. Now I want to talk with you about the importance of rewards, or why we do the things we do. If you keep beating yourself to succeed and never acknowledge your accomplishments, you will fail. We do everything we do to gain the rewards. Virtually everything we do is selfish in a way. Mother Teresa worked hard toward the selfish reward of helping others. If she hadn't done it, she wouldn't have been able to sleep at night. She did it because she had no choice. Reward yourself for every accomplishment. That's what good managers do. Now, remember regular review and update of your goals and supporting to-do list. I'm just putting this in there as a reminder. We've already talked about it several times. Part of management is reviewing your to-do list regularly. Now, let's talk about adding stretch goals. What's a stretch goal? We all have our goals, but don't we also have those unstated, secret goals that would thrill us to no end if we achieved them? Those are your stretch goals. So, set your goals, but also consider what would be just one step beyond. Often, our most amazing accomplishments are achieved via our stretch goals. Now, let's look at examples of stretch goals. I plan on walking 10,000 steps today. I've got a Fitbit and it tells me exactly how many steps I walk in a day, but 12,000 steps would be amazing. That's a good stretch goal. I'm going to record 30 minutes of video today, but 45 minutes would sure be nice. Or even more practical, I'm going to write 1,000 words today. But 2,000 words would be more in the direction I'd like to go. Often stretch goals challenge us to go beyond routine and take our accomplishments to the next level. Now, I want to talk with you about monitoring, maintaining, and improving your performance. Another aspect of management involves monitoring and maintaining your ability to perform. So by all means, get to your meeting on time, but also stop to smell the roses from time to time. And how do you monitor your performance? That's simple. Health and mood. If you are unhealthy and you are unhappy, you are not headed toward or achieving your goals. Your performance is bad. You score an F. If, on the other hand, you're feeling great and your mood is upbeat and you see a positive future, you're doing great. Keep on going. Your gut should tell you when things are off track. Remember, you're pursuing your passions with passion. Nothing should be wrong unless something is wrong. So monitor and adjust as needed. That's part of management, is monitoring and changing things to optimize your health and mood. Or to summarize in a phrase, in all things, balance. Discipline is about bringing balance to your life, directing your momentum towards your goals. And that's the end of this lesson. I'll talk to you in the next lesson about persistence or overcoming obstacles. In this lesson, I want to talk with you about persistence or sustained momentum. Now that you've got your momentum built up and you've got it directed, the last thing you want is for something to stand in your way. So what is persistence? Persistence involves overcoming both the daily interruptions, which are probably most common, and the major life challenges that stand between you and your goals. Now, before I begin, I want to go off on a slight aside here about the unfair advantage of being stubborn. My wife is stubborn. I call unfair advantage. Then again, I suppose I'm stubborn in my own way. Aren't we all stubborn? There's a lot to be said for stubbornness. Proceeding forward in the face of adversity. But that's only going to get you so far. To avoid daily interruptions, you need to carve out your own time of the day and enforce a schedule to make time for you to achieve your most important goals. You need to do this. This is probably the most important point in the whole class. Make your own time a daily routine. And then go so far as to announce your daily routine to your friends, family, and others, and insist that they respect it. I have no doubt that when you explain the goals and the importance of your daily routine, that they will respect it. And here we have the first of the golden Brian Jackson quotes in this class. Check this out. Life is nothing but time. So why not defend your time as if you're defending your life? Think about it. If you're not using your time to achieve your passions, your goals, then are you really living? Maybe you're just existing. So unless there's blood, accept no interruptions to your daily routine of making time to achieve your goals. Now, another important technique that I want to talk with you about is how to keep that goal in mind, how to envision it. And to maintain your focus, what I recommend is that you use a technique used by athletes the world over, and that is to envision yourself achieving your goals. There's something magical that happens, who knows how the brain works, but some connection gets made by seeing yourself achieving your goals. Now, the next thing that I want to talk to you about is, sure, overcoming your obstacles and so on are important, but I want you to talk reality instead of smack or hype yourself. Don't put yourself down, but don't delude yourself. So persistence is great, but when your path is blocked, it's blocked. Don't fool yourself. And how do you get around that blocked path? Have multiple irons in the fire. So how do you overcome the insurmountable obstacle? You step around it. If it's insurmountable, don't keep beating your head against it. Talk reality to yourself at some point, and be sure to develop multiple alternate paths toward your goal. Swiftly discard the losers and continue your pursuit of the winners. Here's another, the second great quote, I think, from at least this lesson. The only consequence of failure is eventual success. Think about it. Keep on going. It's this kind of thinking that makes persistence work, that drives you forward. But also remember, insurmountable goal, step around it. Once the obstacle is cleared, you know what I want you to do? You're right. Lower your head again and proceed toward your goal. Be dogged. Be persistent. Achieve your goals. And I'll see you in the next lesson. In this final lesson of the process, we're going to cover the rinse and repeat step. Basically, to execute this, you return to goal setting and start all over again. For those of you who still don't get it, I put together this simple presentation. Repeat and repeat. Stop when you accomplish your goal or you are dead. And set a new goal if not dead. And repeat and keep going until dead. The end. In this lecture, we're going to do the section workshop, in which I'm going to demonstrate the techniques covered in this lecture. But first, I thought I would just go over and I'd review what we covered in this lecture. Now remember, we talked about getting stuck in a rut where you have no momentum. That's where you start. So start moving. Get out of the rut and move. It doesn't matter where you're steering at this moment, because you're going to be moving slowly anyway, so you won't make it far away from your goal if you're headed in exactly the wrong direction. Just move, just to get yourself moving, get the pistons oiled and get everything moving. And then you start steering based on your goals. So this is discipline, and you're going to start using certain tools to direct your activities towards your goals. You're going to overcome obstacles either by overcoming them and going through them, or going around them, and then you just repeat. And usually you repeat by reviewing your goals to make sure they're still solid before you put your nose to the grindstone and you keep on moving. So to look at a little more detail, stuck in a rut, right? It's hard to get a car moving from a dead stop, but it's easy to keep it moving. And it doesn't matter if you're doing the wrong thing. Just get moving. So do anything. Don't wait. Moving possibly in the wrong direction. Finally, you're moving. Things are happening. You're remembering how to do things. You're setting up processes and routines. This is great. And you have little concern for where you're going. Enjoy the feeling of having all this potential that you're about to apply to steering towards your goals. So consult your goals, modify your direction by steering towards your goals, and I recommend you use lists. We're going to talk a lot about lists in this course, and avoid distractions. Keep yourself focused on your goals. Now, when it comes to overcoming obstacles, remember, you have the option of pushing through when you encounter an obstacle, just blast through it, or go around it, have an alternative path, but always remain on the shortest path to your goals. And when it comes to repeating, you go back to the start and repeat again, but it's a good idea to review the validity of each of your goals on each repetition. Now, I thought what would be useful at this point would be to go through an example. So here we have Jake, a high school student. He doesn't know what to do after graduation. He's stuck in a rut. Then he realizes that he really likes cooking, and he thinks he wants to be a chef. So he gets moving. Jake gathers information on the best cooking schools. He's steering towards his goal now. So he got a little movement going. He got a little fire burning in his belly. And now he's beginning to direct it towards his goal. He tells his parents of his plan, and they disagree. Roadblock. So Jeff convinces them that he can earn enough money to pay his own way if he can live at home. And his parents agree. There you go. That's an example of persistence. You just blasted through that particular roadblock. Then Jeff finds out that his high school grades aren't good enough to get into the best cooking schools. So he enrolls in his junior college, which happens to have quite a good cooking school. That's a workaround. He was able to keep going towards his goal of becoming a chef. He just had to take an alternate path to get there. Now Jeff finds that he needs to find a good part-time job. A new goal has been set, and Jeff will go through and repeat the entire process again, trying to achieve this new goal of finding a job. And notice how they're kind of hierarchical. He's finding a job so that he can become a chef. So there's some dependency here between goals. So that's an example of seeing all these phases in action. I hope that it helped. And in the next section, we're going to talk about the Achieving Your Goals project. And I encourage you to actually do the project and hand it in. I'd love to see your work. So I'll see you in the next lecture. So that was it, the original heart and soul of the course. I hope you liked it. I thought it was really good. You know, before extending this course, I went back and I watched the old original thinking it might be stinky. And it wasn't. It was really good. This has some good information in it.